This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Live from the floating head of Unicron, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom Show with your hosts, Hassel and Monster.
Hassel, how's it going, bud?
It's going well. It's going well. We've had some technical difficulties this week. Sadly, we're recording on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday, and due to this, we apologize to everyone for the news we kind of let slip through our fingers. So if there's anything we missed, well, there's a great deal we're going to miss, but reach out to us. We're more than happy to share it on any of the social medias or wherever we have to. But still a lot to unpack today. Give a special thanks to our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles, Tifton, Georgia. Look them up on their Facebook. They're in Tifton, Georgia, and they're more than happy to meet all your nerdy needs.
Yeah, look for them for anything you need, from comics to Legos, trading cards, toys, games, anything else. And then help them support the local artist community through their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms Unite. We also want to take a moment to give a shout out to a special friend of the show, Mr. Dyno Garcia. He's an independent comic creator. Stay tuned here for the channel for some special announcements and for more details about his upcoming release of his series, Cyber Ronin. And I think we can go ahead and tell everybody now that as far as we have planned, barring any more technical difficulties, he's actually going to join us next week for an interview and give us as many details as we can possibly squeeze and eke out of him about his new Cyber Ronin series. So stay tuned for that. You can find him now if you want to check out some of his early artwork on his social media at D Garcia Comics on Instagram, and I think it's just at Daniel Garcia on Facebook.
Yeah, he's on Facebook at Daniel Garcia, and he shared a ton of artwork. It's really cool, and I think everybody get a kick out of it. And he'll share more with us next week and talk about the artist and everything that's on there. That does some really great artwork. I said, it's a really cool looking book. I'm kind of excited about this.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to getting details on that next week. So join us then for that. And as Hassel mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of internet issues this week, both of us at different times. And that extended back through this past weekend. And unfortunately, this past weekend, because of Toy Fair being canceled, a lot of toy companies started their own virtual cons for this year. Some of them did it just over the weekend. Some were feeding through this week. But because of that and our technical issues, we missed a lot of news. Instead of trying to go back and catch all that, what we are going to do is share with you our condensed news notes and maybe some places you can go to catch some of that as we know about it. And we'll try to come back around and share more of the details with you as things start to not only be revealed, but go up for pre-order. If we did miss anything, though, that you really want to know about, or you have questions on, or that you want to share with the community, feel free to drop it on comments in any of our social media or on the episode comments here below. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump into some of the news that we do have, and we wanted to kick off, as we usually do, with sports news. Elimination Chamber was this past weekend in Saudi Arabia. We watched it, weren't really impressed. I think the only real big takeaway, at least for me from it, and Hassel, you can say if you got anything else, but Brock Lesnar did win the WWE Championship again, putting him back in the title match. Yeah, everybody pretty much expected it. I think the big unknown from this match that was a reveal for us as fans is that Bobby Lashley went out during the match and they sold it as a concussion, but he is actually out for an injury. Apparently he sustained a shoulder injury back at the Royal Rumble, and they didn't know how bad it was or what it was going to be, and that's why he hasn't wrestled since then. And apparently now he's got to have surgery, and it's going to be at least a minimum 4 months out. So that was their way of writing him out of the story.
On Raw, they still felt the need to tease him for Madison Square Garden.
They did.
Like Brock Lesnar has a defense, and it's like, but then he in the same breath, Paul Heyman was like, if he can't meet it, I get to select your opponent or whatever. Yeah, it's already rumored, possibly Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what they're doing. They're using every tease possible to tease Cody Rhodes coming.
I will say that Cody Rhodes don't have a prayer in hell against a Brock Lesnar type talent. However, if they did pair him with Paul Heyman, that could be entertaining as hell. I'm not a big Cody Rhodes fan by no means, but when Paul Heyman is a mouthpiece, the kid does have in-ring talent. He's got an arrogance to him. If he finally were to turn heel, what he didn't do in AEW, paired with Paul Heyman on Raw, and then you got Paul Heyman on SmackDown with, you know what I'm saying? It's two different flavors, but they both work.
It could be interesting. I don't think that they will ever bring him in and throw him into the main event picture as long as you have guys like Roman and Brock there. I see him as an upper mid card at best.
That's always going to be, but it would be an interesting concept to do.
Yeah.
It'd be quite the splash. They can't bring him in and job him out because if they job him out, right now, the biggest thing they're getting out of him is he knows all the contracts. He knows when everybody expires. He knows when everybody's coming due, and he knows, hey, this might sweeten the pot to get, Cowboy or MJF or, they're real big on Wardlow. These are guys are going to want in the future. So they can't bring him in and job him out, but at the same time, they're not going to make him world champion.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a big discussion for us, not on this episode, but maybe in a future one that with some of this stuff going on with AEW behind the scenes, there's a lot of information coming out that, that their first initial reaction was scoop up all the talent they possibly could, and now they're looking at it and say, okay, we're going to spend more money on a CM Punk, and you 5 people over here, you're not worth the contract, we'll let you go. So, and some of those are bigger names, and then that may turn around and bite them. This is going to be WCW all over again if they're not careful.
I don't know. I think they give a lot of talents contracts they would not have got under any other circumstances when they were starting up because they needed any viable talent they could get. Okay, they're past the startup phase. We're 3.5, 4 years in. Okay, at this point, you can afford to trim the fat, get rid of your Sunny Kisses, get rid of your, they got a lot of talent that just never gets anywhere but on Elevation and Dark.
Right.
Nobody watches the YouTube show. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and on those I agree with you. But there's rumors and rumblings that some of their talent that they have used more regularly are actually looking at when their contract's in, possibly leaving, especially considering they know they're not going to make what a Punk or Daniel Bryan's going to make. Which is one of the reasons they think Cody left. He wasn't getting that.
I've heard a lot of mixed rumors about he wanted Punk money, and I hate to break it to him, he's not worth Punk money. But and at the same time, I heard Brandy Rhodes was rubbing a lot of people the wrong way.
Well, and that's where I was going to go next, is there's actually a lot of rumors coming out about a lot of unhappiness backstage. We heard a little bit from, Big Swole, and it was like, okay. But now with Brandy and Cody leaving, you're hearing some people saying, yeah, they're putting on a good front for the company, saying, oh, we're going to miss them, but really nobody is. And there's other people backstage that seem to be feuding as well that's coming out more and more. So it's going to be an interesting year for them to see how they shake out. But again, we won't delve into it too much more here just to save some time. But I think that's a future episode coming up for us at some point. But while we are on wrestling and talking about someone who's made an impact, and Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame, their first inductee for this year, he's the headliner, which, all right, he deserves it.
First ballot all the way. That was an amazing promo they put together for him Monday night. Did you see it?
Yes, but it was very long. They don't ever. I've never seen them do one quite that long, but it was like 6 minutes.
He had 30 years in the WWE alone.
Yeah, but usually they'll play a little bit of background music for Hall of Fame, but he had 2 full-length songs in the middle of it. I was like, man, that's like 4 minutes apiece.
Hey, if WCW had never went out of business, let's face it, he is to the WWE what Sting was to WCW.
Oh, yeah.
Because if WCW had never went out of business, Sting would have stayed with them through the end and would probably, God, still be with them.
Yeah,
so it's the same equivalent.
I do not discount at all him having that, but I didn't realize how long it was until I went back, because I missed the Elimination Chamber the day of. I watched it on Monday night when I would have been watching Raw. I watched Raw on Tuesday, but still, when I watched it on there was like 10 minutes of no wrestling on the show because it was all recap, and then 6 minutes of Undertaker video. I was like, wow, this is really long.
I'm going to be honest, dude. I'm going to go on record and say he is probably Vince McMahon's greatest creation. And I don't say that lightly, because Vince McMahon helped create Hulkamania. And while I had the staying power, you had 10 years there, he went away. Then he go somewhere else. Taker stayed the entire time, and Vince has an affinity for this man because he was loyal through the wars. He stayed after.
Vince fully created Taker. Now, Hulkamania,
100%.
He might have pushed Hulkamania, but you got to remember Hulk came in with some of that persona already in place from Vern. So
yeah, Well, that and Thunder Lips.
Yeah.
In the flesh, baby.
But while we're on WWE, we did have some breaking news from this week. So our internet's been working the last couple of days, so we were able to actually pull out some new information. But AJ Styles was confirmed to have re-signed with WWE for a big money deal. I tell me if you see anything different, but I saw $3 million per year guaranteed.
Yeah.
For was it 3 years at minimum?
3 years with a 4th year option, and that's his downside guarantee.
So I also saw today that they're actually in his contract, and he's one of the very few wrestlers that gets this. This is a John Cena, Undertaker type thing. All of his expenses and all of his travel stuff is being paid for as well.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
So I don't know if he's getting his own bus like some of them, like a John Cena or somebody does, or if they're paying for his flights. But all of his expenses are covered now too for travel.
Well,
they don't typically do that.
No, but he is one Vince couldn't afford to lose either, because just talent aside, you didn't want him showing up on AEW.
Oh Lord, no.
Not with because the matches with him and Punk, or him and Daniel Bryan, so forth, so on. That I would have been, or him, Cowboy Page, Omega. There's some big matches to be had there. But he offers a lot to the table as a teacher, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to go behind the scenes once he retires.
Yeah. Which is why I wasn't as surprised once he resigned. I mean, I know it was a big money deal, but he's talked so openly about wanting to stay there and end his career and then go behind the scenes there that I really didn't see him leaving unless it was just a huge miss on their mark, or they cut his money that badly.
Well, you knew when they re-signed Kevin Owens for what they signed him for, and I'm not knocking Kevin Owens. It was a no-brainer for AJ. Because,
yeah.
That's the guy. That's probably the one guy that Vince did not create come in the door with a boom and hasn't. He's slowed a little, but it's because he was building another talent. Honestly, because the slowest he's been is when he was building Omar. So, and they were tag champions then. So how slow could that be?
Yeah, and we've seen that they don't always push everybody the way they should, and they don't give all the money they should to everyone, but. One that we saw reporting leaving today is Cesaro. Apparently, they did not come to terms on his contract negotiations that he wanted, and he is as soon as his contract expires, he is out. From what I understand,
I know his contract is already expired. And from
is it already?
I actually read this just before we started recording. He don't have a 90-day compete clause because his contract expired.
Ended. Yeah,
he could actually go to work for AEW tomorrow.
Well, maybe he's one of these rumored ones that Tony keeps, because Tony doesn't like to play with the toys he owns. He likes to buy a new one every couple of weeks, and he's announced stuff all the way through like 2024 at this point for people showing up.
And he did post something on Twitter, I think yesterday, saying that there's something major coming.
Yeah,
but he hasn't said what it is, and that would be a big one. I would like to see Cesaro in AEW, and Jeff Hardy's already dropped the bomb that he's AEW bound. He's already signed. He's just waiting it out. He
messed up and let that slip as soon as he signed it, and he was in an interview and he let it out, and then they were like, "You weren't supposed to say that yet."
Yeah, that's kind of a huge drop of the ball right there, because you want that big pop when he first shows him.
Yeah.
Was everyone expecting him? Of course.
Sure.
However, his brother's not in the right position for when he comes in, and you don't want them to start off feuding. You want them to start off as the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
So come on, you got to get playing things a little better than that. Tony or Vince wanted to give me the damn book and let me get them right.
Well, since you brought up planning things a little bit better, if our internet would have worked, we would have been planned a lot better for all these toy fairs that happened over the weekend. Like I said, we missed a lot of this stuff, but we're going to tell you where to go find some of them, and a few that we were able to catch. NECA revealed a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, and when I say a lot, I mean it was an hour-long interview with Vives from the Foosh channel by NECA's Trevor Zammit. He revealed a ton of stuff. If you want to see what all was revealed there, go catch that on the Foosh channel. I will be honest with you and tell you that I still haven't finished the whole video. I'm about 30 minutes in, but my internet was having trouble, so I haven't finished it. But you'll get all the details you need from their Ninja Turtle stuff on that podcast. And then we did get to see, though, the Ultimate Gargoyles figures to go along with Goliath. We've got Hudson, which is going up for pre-order. Actually, I think it's already gone up for pre-order. It was like when I got the news, it was a couple of days ago, and I think it's actually out now, or it might be coming soon. Check Big Bag, because I think he's coming already. If he hasn't already,
I've missed that actually, because I've done some ordering today. So
they also showed reveals of Lexington, Broadway, and Brooklyn, and we've already seen Bronx before. None of the rest of them are up for pre-order now. More details to come later, but Hudson was going up soon if he hasn't already. Again,
He's not on their main page right now.
okay. And again, I've had some internet issues, so I may have missed him. I just thought he already had.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I never envisioned myself getting the entire set. I mean, I got Goliath and I got Thalog, and of course I was gonna get the dog. I forget his name.
Bronx.
There you go. Because he not only does he always look cool, but he comes with the caped wings for Goliath.
Yes.
Which means I have to now buy a loose Goliath. However, when I seen those the other day when they announced them over the weekend, damn, they look good. I mean, I'm going to have to get this whole set now. And Brooklyn
they do look amazing.
and Lexington were the two that I never thought I would get because they've always been like, eh. Hudson looks amazing. He looks great. Yeah. He's so cool looking. But even Brooklyn wound up looking really cool. Him and Lexington both, I was like, wow, they've done a great job with these guys. I mean,
they all look great. But while we're on that, maybe we'll see some of those dropping soon because NECA has joined up with Target for their Haulathon event, which is going to be one of their virtual collector events at Target. It doesn't start till March 18th, but it looks like on March 18th they're going to announce a few items coming up from NECA that are going to be exclusive to Target for ordering right now. Maybe they'll come up later at other places, but right now they'll be exclusive to Target first. And then they'll every Friday after that for the month of March, and I think into April for a little bit too. They're going to make new announcements and new sales that way. And I know you don't like to buy from Target because the Ghost of Christmas Target Pass likes to charge you regularly.
Man, dude, they got me so good the other day. Like literally, I have two things pre-order through them right now. I have a White Ranger and then a Jedi costume. He's like $34. I have these ingrained in my mind at this point because of how often they hit me for them. Then I have the Viper and the Bat that are in the Python
Patrol. Yeah.
The two of them together are like $49.95. I looked at my account the other day, and like a dumbass, I used my debit card. And I'm just waiting for my bank to shut me down because they're going to think they're phishing me. But like literally, I see $49.95, $49.95, $49.95, positive $49.95. I'm like, what about the other two? And then today I see the $34 for the Ninjetti, and I'm just like, fuck me. It's just like they're killing me. And like it'll drop off within a week or so, and then by the time it drops off, it comes right back. And it's like I'm just waiting for my bank to think I've been scammed at some point.
Well, since you brought this up, and that's the whole reason I went into it, because I knew you would go there, and it would be a great segue for us to go G.I. Joe. Celebrating their 40th anniversary kicked off today. Before we jump into the Hasbro live stream to kick that off, we will share that Hiya Toys that we talked about several times on here. Are they really going to do G.I. Joes? They did announce that they're doing a 1/18th scale G.I. Joe line. No other details yet. It was just announced this week, but apparently we'll be getting more pretty soon from what I understand. And from what I understand from today's live stream, which we're going to get into, Yojo June, which I still don't understand why that's not July. But it's Yojo June, and it is going to be completely packed with reveals and sales. So I'm guessing maybe some of the Hiya Toys might be a little before that or joining in that.
And what size is 1/18th?
That would be that's got to be around the 4-inch scale.
So just a little
because
bigger
1/12 is 6-inch, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, it's somewhere between 3 3/4 and the 6-inch line, which. I
don't know about that market right there. I don't know how well you're going to do with that.
Yeah. But while we're talking G.I. Joe, and like I said, we've brought up several times, Hasbro did do their live stream event today to kick off the 40th anniversary. So let's lead in with that with the first. I'm not going to go in necessarily in order of how they reveal stuff because, to be honest with you, I was having a hard time watching the podcast because I had several internet things running and it was just blitzing in and out. But we will go through all the reveals. Let's start with the pre-orders. They opened up with the pre-orders that started today. There's a classified for the classified series. We've got Stalker, the Crimson Twins, Zaymot and Tomax, and the Viper Troop Pack, which is an online retailer only special. It is not going to be in brick and mortar stores. So if you want that, you got to go to Big Bad or Hasbro Pulse or Amazon. But all that stuff set to release in May of next year. But the pre-orders
You got a little
are up
time,
right
folks.
now, and you can get those now. I will tell you that if you go to Hasbro, the Crimson Twins are already sold out, as well as the Viper True Pack. Stalker was the only one on there as of about 3 hours ago, and I haven't checked it again since. But Big Bad, all the other retailers still have them open for right now.
I'm quite surprised at how expensive that Viper pack is. Did you look at the price tag on it?
Yes, it's like $80, right?
89.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was like Stalker, he was $24. Same amount to Max, they were both 25, 90 something a piece.
Oh yeah.
But that pretty well retails out at about $30 a figure for Vipers. I'm kind of surprised by that, unless they come with a shit ton of accessories that I'm unaware of.
There's a lot of accessories in there with them that they are coming with, like new weapons and stuff that are more realistic looking. But they
Okay,
also
see, I haven't seen that part.
These are the first GI Joes with 1.5 millimeter port blast effects for the weapons, so you can put like the gun shooting and stuff now.
Okay.
Which is probably why it's an online retailer only package, because they have issues with making realistic guns and selling them as toys in brick and mortar stores.
I don't want it realistic. I want yellow and red lasers, damn it. They shot lasers on the show, and that's what I want.
Yeah. The other reveal that went up for pre-order today, actually there's a couple of them. There's an O-ring pack. It's Cobra Officer and Trooper. It's more of their vintage 3.75 inch ones. And then the big one that got me that broke my bank was there's a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover figure. It's a Hiss tank that turns into Megatron, and it does come with an O-ring Baroness at the 3.75 inch scale. And she actually fits inside of the canopy when he transforms.
Oh, he's transformed.
And when he's in robot mode, she can actually stand in the backpack that has.
Well, that's what I meant was like when he's got to be a pretty good size Megatron.
He's about the same size as their Skylinks level characters. I think that's what Commander class. So their Skylinks, their Rodimus Prime that they recently made, all that scale. That's about the size it is. That one has an $89.99 price tag and comes out in January of next year. So I started Christmas shopping for 2023 early because I had to buy one for me because I have all the Transformer crossovers, and then I had to buy one for the kids. So that's going to be starting Christmas 2023. So I'm now shopping 2 years out for Christmas.
Yeah, I kind of wish you had mentioned the price tag, as my bride-to-be don't know I pre-ordered that yet. And
well, you're the one who said you pre-ordered it. I just gave the price.
Oh, that's coming to the Hassel house. It's happening. There's no way around it. You got Megatron and Cobra in a Hiss tank.
Yeah,
it's happening. I mean,
and there was I know you didn't get to watch the stream because you were at work, but when they came out, one of the Transformer team members came to introduce it because they did all the engineering on it, and they had a Megatron skit introducing that he was teaming up with Cobra. It was a whole funny thing about his beware humans. I am now working with Cobra, and introduced the guy who was gonna talk about the figure. So that was pretty funny, actually.
Was it anywhere near the Frank Welker voice?
Oh no.
Nah, that's trash. But I do commend them on the fact that the packaging is Cobra G.I. Joe packaging. It's just Megatron included.
And the box actually,
it's fine. That's fine with me.
And if you want to keep it in the box or keep the box intact, it actually opens up in the middle of the box, and then everything's inside, and then you can close it back up. Very, very much like the Power Rangers 2-pack that has the Jason Red Ranger and Gold Ranger. Mm-hmm. So the two sides slide open. So if you just want to display it but not take it out, you can just open up the box.
Oh, I'm going to have to take it out. If it's possible to take it out without it no longer appearing MOC, it's coming out there. And I'm going to be like, you're an idiot, Starscream. It's happening. It's happening.
So we did get some more reveals today, too. Now, these are all figures that were revealed that are not available for pre-order yet, but due to shipping issues all around the world, they took this mode of let's start showing you renders as soon as we can, and then we'll tell you when the pre-orders go up, and then we'll tell you when the figures are coming. So the first one is a mainline set of figures. It's the next wave of figures after Stalker and the Crimson Twins, and it's Serana, Dusty, and Crimson Guard. And these were amazing looking. Again, it's just renders right now, and we don't know when they'll be going up for sale, but those will look great. We do have some Target exclusives coming out, much to Hassel's chagrin. There's a Python Patrol Cobra Trooper, a Tiger Force Rakondo, and a Tiger Force Bazooka. And I wish they'd quit making ones that I need open and closed, because now I have to buy 2 Rakondos.
I've got to have that. I got to have that Bazooka and that Python, but damn, I don't want to pre-order nothing else to them. I can't. I can't have my bank account shut down over Target phishing my account.
We'll work it out. We'll do like we do other stuff. I'll just order it and then send it to you when it gets here. because I got to order anyway. No, they'll let you order up to 2 usually at least, so we're good.
G Money Entertainment always for the win.
Then we've got a couple of unknown when they're coming out or what wave they're in, but they showed their Kamakura, which is Snake Eyes' protege, which is the first modern Joe they've really done in this line.
Yeah.
And then a Dr. Mindbender, and that Dr. Mindbender looked really cool.
God, how nostalgic was it to see him and the Crimson Guard today? Those two, which I popped really big for Bazooka, even though he wasn't Tiger Force. Which I was kind of surprised we got Tiger Force Bazooka first.
Yeah, me too.
But you know what? I'm only way I'm fine with this is that when we get regular Bazooka, he comes in a 2-pack with Alpine.
Or what they'll probably do is put him, if they do well with that classified carded series vintage, that's probably what the regular one will end up on. Which, speaking of them, they did share with that yes, some of those had gotten out into the wild at a Walmart and should not have been because they're trying to hoard everything until they have enough to make at least a portion of collectors happy by getting them out. But those are officially going up for pre-sale in the month of March at Walmart's Collector Con, which they said they thought was March 24th, but don't quote them on that because they could have had the date wrong because it was hard to remember all the information they had. But
as easy as sometime in March, them, boy.
But during the live stream, we also got a couple other things. There's a Super 7 Reaction Wave 3 with the Firefly, Baroness, Cobra Commando, Snake Eyes, Flint, and Roadblock. And I know neither of us really collect those, but it's kind of surprising to see that they promoted Super 7 stuff on there during the live stream. They'll sell them online a lot of times at the Hasbro Pulse, but you don't usually see them talk about them on the live stream. And then we had the last thing that I remember seeing them share was a G.I. Joe card game called Mission Critical that's coming from Renegade Studios. It's pretty interesting look at card game. It does have miniatures for the game as well, so I'm not sure how in depth it goes to as far as, or is it like a Warhammer or something like that? But I didn't get to watch the whole preview of that, but it seemed pretty interesting that that's coming out. But besides G.I. Joe, we're going to take a step back to Monday because Marvel had a Legends Fan First Monday as well and did a live stream. And during this live stream, we started getting a few more details on 20th anniversary stuff as well as Spider-Man's 60th anniversary. They're doing a Spider-Man centric wave called Beyond Amazing. It's going to be focused throughout the year. They're going to have different releases throughout the year, but the first part of that that's coming out is there's a retro carded Rhino. That's actually
great.
Yeah, and that's actually already been up for pre-sale on Hasbro Pulse, and it's still up for pre-sale on other vendors like Big Bad Toy Store and a few others, but it's actually sold out on Hasbro Pulse for their portion of what they were selling of it. And they shared a shot of a future one coming out. It's a Future Foundation Spider-Man. They're calling it stealth version, but it's really just the inverted black and white version of them. Because they did a white one a while back, but now they're going to do the black costume version of that. No idea of when that's coming yet, but that was listed. Then they got into a few other items. Disney Plus, there's going to be another animated wave later this year, just like we heard in the rumors already. And they shared the Build-A-Figure for this. It's the What If Infinity Ultron, where he's got all the Infinity Stones and fights the Watcher. Pretty interesting looking, but I just don't have a connection enough to buy those animated.
I'm going to be honest. If it didn't look as animated in the figure, I would probably went in for that because that was a cool story. I dug it, how powerful Ultron with the gauntlet was. But even the figure itself looks very cartoony, and I'm not a fan of that. If they'd have went into a little more detailed version of it, I might would have went in for it, but not that way right there. Yeah,
and then they shared with us another exclusive. This is a Hasbro Pulse, and eventually going to be a Shop Disney exclusive, but it's the X-Men animated VHS collection, just like we saw the Wolverine and Jubilee and Mr. Sinister. They've got a Storm now. Really neat looking. The animation, accurate cell shading was great looking, but what I really liked about the Storm was the head. Like, I've got the Storm in that white costume already, and the hair just wasn't as regal as what I'm expecting to see from Storm.
I have the retro card with the black costume, but yes, they did a much better version of the head than what they had there.
Yeah, and that's up for pre-order now as well. And then the big news from that Marvel Legends Fan First Monday, I keep wanting to call it a Friday, but it was on Monday, was the Avengers Build-A-Figure wave. Now, we've heard rumors about these and what was coming in this, but not necessarily the specifics of each one of these characters' looks. But we got Blue Marvel, who was also their 20th anniversary, 20th of the month revealed. They revealed this package then, but we've got the Ultimates version of Blue Marvel.
Yeah.
Mark 70 armor, for Iron Man, which was the modern armor he's wearing now. It was designed by Alex Ross. We got my favorite of the wave, Speedball. So I can round up my new Warrior set. He's in his classic look. We got a Madam Hydra, a very classic style U.S. agent. So for those of you who are building an Avengers West Coast, you must go get him.
Yes.
A cosmic powered Thor Herald of Galactus from the recent storyline where he was Herald of Galactus for a few issues, and that was an amazing looking figure, honestly. Even though I don't really have a connection to it and want to collect it, that was one of the better looking ones I've seen him do in a long time.
That and the Iron Man both look really great. And
then we've got it's a pack that's it's designated as Marvel's Quake. So it's Daisy Johnson, Quake from S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, but you can swap out the head as well as the hands and the gauntlets on her to have a Maria Hill figure if you want Maria Hill from S.H.I.E.L.D., or if you just want to buy two of them, make a Maria Hill. But the build-a-figure for all these is Controller, which was almost a complete reuse of Galactus, but if you got it, go ahead and use it. And this is a character that you probably weren't going to get in any other fashion.
And with the exception of the head, and the hands and the forearm sleeves, it is Thanos 100%. There's nothing different.
Yeah, and those are all up for pre-order now, and I think most of them are still available. I think the only thing I've seen sold out from Marvel since Monday has been the Rhino. Yeah. And then the last thing
I really wish we'd have gotten a blue Marvel with the alternate Dr. Fate helmet. I'm just saying.
I would have liked to have seen one not in the combat vest and combat boots, but in his second uniform or his first uniform where he's got a cape and he looks more super heroic. But, and I didn't go in for him right now just because of that, but you got time to debate about those because they're not coming out till January as well. So there was an early mold of Galactus shared, a very early sample mold. There was still some work to do. The colors were a little bit off on the color palette. The faceplate decos weren't just right. So there's still some work to do there, but they wanted to share the first look at what they had for that. And I think that was all of our Hasbro news for this week, at least that we were able to abscond with. We do have some Mcfarland toys reveals that came out just in the last couple of days. There's a Flash from the CW Season 7 series and Godspeed from DC Rebirth. Both of these, no details on pre-orders yet, but they're expected to drop in March or possibly even this weekend because McFarlane has announced that they'll be holding a winter showcase event February 25th through 27th on various social media channels. So this is their version of their virtual toy fair, and that'll be going on this weekend.
On a sidebar, Monster, I will say this. I feel like we need to employ Josh just so that every time one of us says Flash, he's in the background going, ah. Because if that wasn't a Josh moment, I mean, it's time you said that I heard Josh in my ear with the Flash Gordon. So we're going to employ him just for that.
That would be a funny one. We might have to look into that. And again, because of some of the news outlets we weren't able to get to this week, we kind of had to skip comic and video game news because we didn't really get to see any. But we do have just a smidgen of the movie and TV news. Now, I saw a lot more, but by the time I caught up to some of it, it was so far gone, I was like, I can't keep up with it. So we're going to give you the ones we have. And if we missed any, again, feel free to berate us in the comments. We will take the beating. The beatings will continue until morale improves.
And then we're going to pass them on to MediaCom and Spectrum.
First thing up was Star Wars 501st Legion. And I know this is not necessarily a movie and TV, as this is a cosplay group, but this is one of the most famous cosplay groups in the world. They started on March 14th in 1997, and they are celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. So we wanted to give them a congratulations and say, 25 years strong, and I'm sure they'll have 25 more because that thing seems to grow every time you see them out there. And there is a new logo for it, and we'll actually share a picture of the logo here or somewhere in between us at some point during this. I'm not sure which side we'll be on at this point, but you'll see it up there, and it's pretty interesting to see that they've got 25 years under their belt.
And it's always fun to meet those guys because they do such an amazing job. They take it seriously, and like at Mayhem when I was there a few weeks ago, they had a few guys there. We had a Vader, you had a Trooper, you had a Leia that was amazing, a Boba Fett or a Mandalorian. I apologize, but what really took to me was the Stormtrooper. His daughter was a Jawa. I mean, she's like 8 years old, but she was in full. She had the movements down, and she done everything. And they had like the voice boxes so that she replicated the noise that they make, and it was like, it was great. I mean, they go the distance.
And they have grown from such a small group to being a not just a national group, but like a worldwide group. I've seen people in Canada who are part of it. I've met some of them, and it's just a huge community, and it's great to see that you can have that in this day and age, especially.
And they travel well too, because they've been at our sponsor of the zones a few times in Tipton. So if you're in Tipton passing through, there is a small chance that you may run into the 501st there.
Yeah, and to be honest, they actually George Lucas took them so seriously that that's actually one of the clone trooper regiments that's named the 501st. From the Clone Wars.
That's an honor.
We do have some other news coming out from movie and TV though. Spider-Man No Way Home. We got the announcement on when that's going to be released. The digital is available on March 22nd, and the Blu-ray and DVD will be dropping on April 12th. So Hassel will be partaking part in my digital code on the.
Yes, I shall be mooching. And yes, we had technical difficulties again. And Mediacom, Spectrum, you get DS awards.
We talked about this last week that Netflix is getting rid of their Marvel shows on the 28th because of licensing agreements, and we are seeing now that they're actually moving to Disney Plus, at least in Canada, on the 16th of March. There's rumors that by the 18th of March it may be on Disney Plus in the U.S., but that's not confirmed yet. And no other territories yet have said if they're putting it on their Disney Plus or not. Hopefully they do. I mean, these are great shows, and I think it's going to lead into. It'd be really interesting to see them pop up on there by that time, especially if you're going to get an appearance by any of these other characters in Moon Knight or anything, which starts on the 30th.
That's what I assume they'll do. The U.S.-wise, at least, they'll wait until just before they're about to appear in something.
Yeah.
Or it's announced that they're appearing in something, and then they'll drop the show on there and
it would make
try
sense
to capitalize on, piggyback off the success of or the hype.
Yeah, and it would make sense to do it. And now the other thing we did here, and I don't know if you saw this one, but the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which ran on ABC and stuff like that, but it's been on Netflix since the show ended. The licensing for it's also up. It's going to be leaving Netflix, not on the same date, but it should be leaving Netflix in the next month or so as well. And there has been no rumors of if it's going to pop up on Disney Plus. But if they're going to try and keep all those things in continuity, I'm sure it's got to be at some point, I would imagine.
Have they established whether Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to remain in continuity? I've heard they've kind of went back and forth as to whether it were or weren't. I mean,
I don't know. Same thing with the Netflix shows. They said they weren't, they were, then they weren't, and then they were. And then we saw people show up, so now they are. Probably the same thing. I'm not really sure.
They could scrap Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It wouldn't bother me. I watched the first season. I enjoyed it. It kind of went a little sideways when I realized he's an LMD or whatever.
It has.
And then I did pick back up for the Ghost Rider season because I did enjoy it. But
it has some really great stuff, but it's not every episode. It's like you get 3 episodes of good and 7 of filler. And then you get 2 or 3 good episodes again. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch every episode, I guess I should say. But while we're talking about some of the streaming services, we do have just a couple of quick announcements. Netflix has announced a season 2 of Power Rangers Dino Fury premieres on March 4th. HBO Max has renewed Peacemaker for a second season. Just one day before the actual finale premiered, they said, hey, there will be a second season. And if you have not watched that season finale, you got to go watch that show in that finale because that was hilarious.
It carries the weight.
And then we did see also that Amazon Prime gave a trailer and the release date for their Boys Diabolical animated series, and that's on March 4th as well. So in the next couple of weeks, we got a few more shows hitting that we're going to be watching, at least for me.
And since we're not going to have baseball this season, we need something.
Yeah, I just saw that today too. I didn't realize that they were in a lockout, shutdown, whatever they're calling it this go around.
Yeah, they were hoping to have, if they didn't have a deal finalized by Monday or Tuesday, they were saying they're already going to have a shortened season. And the Braves are already kind of BSing around about not re-signing Freddie Freeman, which is a homegrown talent. And that's no bueno. It's El Libre for us Braves fans. Well, he's a heart and soul of that team. I really hope they get a deal worked out. So we need these things to be dropping soon.
Yeah, my whole thing is I can't support any lockouts or anything from any kind of sports teams because you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game. Now, it takes a lot of skills and stuff, but it's not like you're running the country. Why is it?
This was a conversation me and my dad actually had a few days ago. We were talking about how many fans they lost back when, what was it, 94, 95 when they had the strike. They lost a ton of fans, and then they went through this again around mid 2000s or so. and where they didn't quite have a strap, they had a lockout for a while, similar to what we're having now. And a lot of fans trailed off. And, they were just starting to build their steam and momentum back and getting Major League Baseball was getting some popularity again. And or as huge as it was, I put it, it's always had popularity. But it was starting to get major again. And now it's hard to keep any steam going this way. Their commissioner needs to be run out of Dodge, and they need to start fresh.
Yeah, it's just hard for me with any sports, whether it's baseball, basketball, whatever. Just they're getting paid millions of dollars to play games, and then you got people who barely make ends meet who are out there risking their lives, like your first responders, your EMTs and stuff, and we can barely afford to pay them enough to buy groceries this week, especially the way everything's inflating now. But these guys are complaining because you didn't give me $5 million, you only gave me $2 million. Give me $2 million. I ain't gonna complain.
Yeah, no kidding. Whose mother would you like me to kill this week?
Yeah. But since we've gone through all the news now and again, we know we missed some. Feel free to share it with us, whatever we missed, or if there's something you want to discuss with us, comments are always open. Feel free to drop in there. But with that, we're going to go into a topic that, unfortunately, I didn't have a great segue, but we've put this topic off several times. So, we're going to finally get to it now. Transformers. I think we wanted to talk about more so the collecting side of it than necessarily the show or the comics or anything, but we wanted to talk some about the collecting. And this came up naturally in another conversation where we had a much better segue, and we were talking about the different prices in some of these versus how Takara or Hasbro is making them versus some of these third-party companies and how they're competing with each other. So that kind of led us to say, hey, let's do a whole show on this. And we're going to kick off here with it, but let me start it off by asking you first, Hassel, what do you actually collect? What's your style of Transformers that you do collect? Because I know we both are collectors of them, but
Yeah, I'm into the masterpieces right now. That's really all I'm getting anymore. I still have a great deal of the G1, and for some time I was collecting the Hasbro ones, but I've just in the last probably 10 years. And as great as some of those Hasbro ones still look, I mean, because some of those, like the Studio Series, the 86 ones, they look great. But I've moved away from them. I want to get either Masterpiece or third party at this point.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've switched all mine, as you can see back here, to Masterpiece. I was trying to go for the Hasbro ones, and I was like, you know what? As nice as they are, they're what they consider chug, which is, there's a lot of hollowness to them. There's mostly just plastic, and while you can get by with them, the level of the Masterpiece, even though I didn't want to spend the money on them, it's just worth it to me, just from the aesthetics of them.
Yes.
And again, let me reference this for anybody who's watching too. These are just our opinions and stuff. They're all completely subjective. So if you don't agree or you do agree, you can feel free to share that with us in a comment. We would love to hear your take on them as well. But talking about collecting.
Well, don't get me wrong. It's not exactly. They don't make it very affordable for the average fan to just build a collection of Masterpiece. I mean, because it's a rabbit hole. I mean, no matter what you collect, it is a rabbit hole because you start wanting to get every one or at least the high spots of what you viewed, as your favorites. So no matter how you collect it's very easy to, I got to get them all.
Yeah, and to your point.
So they don't make it easy no matter what you collect.
No, to your point, though, I started out that way. I was like, okay, somebody gave me the Hot Rod Masterpiece for Christmas one year, and I was like, I didn't realize they were this good. So then I was like, I'm going to go get some of my favorites. I'll get an Ultra Magnus and Optimus Prime. Then it became, I need all of this. I need all the season 1, 2, and 3 generation 1 Autobots, because I only collect the Autobots. I don't buy the Decepticons, but I wanted all the season 1, 2, and 3 ones. And then it became, ooh, these Headmaster ones are pretty neat. Let me get the Headmaster and Junior Headmaster ones. And now it's morphed into, okay, all I've got left is Defensor, Broadside, and the Computron, which haven't been made yet. Then I was like, oh, these train ones just look so nice. I can't say no. Damn it, now I'm in for 6 more.
And that's my thing. Like, the only Hasbro I've got slid in with my Masterpiece and third parties is Devastator, just because Hasbro did do a great job on that one.
Yeah,
the combiner on that right there, for what he's priced at, he's a good value.
Yeah, and I have slid some in from Hasbro as well for mine because of the size, not only the price, but the scale of them matched up for that price. Like I've got the Omega Supreme that Hasbro did in my collection, for $150, or I could have went and got the third party Omega Supreme masterpiece when it's like 400, and I got to buy two separate pieces just to get it. I was
that
like,
is the one drawback sometimes of the third parties or whatever, because they break them down, but they have to, and I get it. I mean,
yeah.
I think even Triplicon was like 2 or 3 pieces.
Yeah, and I ended up having Omega Supreme, and I'm looking Jetfire and Skylinks and the Arc. Actually, I take it back. Metroplex and Fort Max too. They're all Hasbro pieces that I just couldn't afford any other way. I mean, there's a Fort Max that's supposedly coming out from Fans Toys. This thing's going to be like 3 or 4 feet tall because the headmaster piece for it alone is 9 to 10 inches.
Yeah,
it's going to be $700 to $1,000. I just can't do it. But speaking about that, what's your priorities on how you collect in yours? I mean, what are you looking for in them most? And when I say that, I mean, like, you look for accuracy, or you look for the scale, the build, the quality, the price. How do you rank your priorities when you're looking at them?
I love a combination of that G1 style with a modern, not so much updated, but just a realism to that G1 style. I don't want it to look too techy, but at the same time, you do kind of want it not as cartoonish. So I mean, I want it to be detail-wise authentic to the G1 style, but just a realistic take with it without going over the top Michael Bay BS.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, the first thing I look at is it going to fit in my scale? Because I want masterpiece scale. And I'm not using masterpiece in terms of quality. I'm using it more for scale size at this point, right? And I know that becomes interchangeable.
Well, we're talking more next level above, what you buy on the Walmart shelf or Toys R Us or Target or wherever.
Yeah. So like the Omega Supreme fits into the scale from Hydra, fits into the scale of the masterpiece line, right? So I look at that scale first. And once I get the scale, then it starts becoming, is it cartoon or toy accurate, and which one do I want it to be closer to? Not dead on, but which one's closer? And then I got to look at, what's the price and the quality, because the price and the quality become almost hand in hand with someone, because you can look at, and I'm going to use the Perceptor that's been coming out recently, because you and I have had a few conversations about it. Yeah. You've got X-Transbox Perceptor, and you got Fans Toys Perceptor version 2. These things look almost indistinguishable from each other. The build is about the same on both of them. I know Fans Toys has a little bit easier on some of the transformation pieces, not always, but on this one, it's a little bit better from what I've watched. But then I look at the price of the two of them. One is over 200 and the other is 120.
Yeah. And sometimes the only difference is like one head may look a little better than the other, or chest plate or something very, it just depends on how much you want to drop on it. Because I've seen someone's like, well, this one at 230 looks just a hair better because of a chest decal or something, or an extra detail in the chest or head. But the other one looks just as damn good if you're not looking at it side by side with this one. Yeah, that's $100 cheaper.
Yeah, I mean the cup that was made by X-Transbox is a perfect example. He was, and I don't remember exactly what he was priced. The first time I saw him, he was around 119, and I think it's gone up since then. Inflation, obviously, but. The Fans Toys one was close to $200. Now I found the Fans Toys one on sale, and I think the Fans Toys one looks just as comparable. If I put them next to each other, I couldn't tell you that I really care for one necessarily over the other. I would tell you transformation wise, the X-Transbox one is much harder than the Fans Toys one. Yeah. Most people say don't even try to transform it.
I didn't. I pulled him straight out of the box. I finally got the faceplate the way I wanted it, and I posed his ass and threw him on my Autobot shelf.
Yeah, and for a long time, I had the Toy World cup because I could not. I just wasn't gonna. I could spend $70 and get him. And I just wasn't gonna spend close to 200 on the Fans Toys. Well, this was before X-Transbox had even made theirs. And dude, this when you get into that scale, it's hard to decide sometimes between the looks, or am I going to go for the price?
And it does something that you kind of jump around. You don't really stay. You find your. Or I don't. I'm not sure about you, Monster, but I don't find myself being like loyal to any one.
No, I don't.
Like, I'll jump around from an MP Takara to X-Transbox to Toy World to, Planet X. I'll kind of jump around to all of them.
And you know what? I do that, but I find that I like that, especially when I get into a groove like with the mini bots. Most of those have been done by so many of them. Yeah. And I could buy, one that's been made, buy a couple different companies and look so close. But by the time I buy one or two from this company, let me buy one from a different one. So when I put it on there, there's a little bit of difference in how they're made and how they look. So it gives them some different character. They're not all, okay, you know exactly how this is going to turn. Like my junior headmasters are all built the exact same way because only one company's making them. And they look good. But at the same time, if one was just a little bit more different, it would make that one stand out. Now this one stands out too. So now they both have more personality to them. But I don't mind buying from different ones as long as they give you a good price on them and a good look for them. I think that kind of leads us into one of the other things we want to talk about was, there's this competition out there between the third parties and Takar. And as you mentioned, you collect different ones, and I do too, but I don't know how Takar is keeping pace with third party ones at this point.
No.
And they've done some great pieces, and some of them are great. I can't deny them, like the Hound and the MP44 are awesome pieces. But they don't stand up against some of the third party ones, especially when like that MP44 doesn't look. But the Transform Element, I can go buy the Transform Element one, looks just as good and has a cleaner backpack, and it cost me a quarter of the price.
And well, you have your purists that they're only going to buy the car. They're like, they stick to it, and that's what they're going to do. That's the only thing that's going to sully their collection. But then some of us that we want a more rounded out collection, and we just want to have all of them, or certain ones at least. So you go for what you feel is the best version. Because like, well, my Insecticons, they're Planet X. Are they 100% G1 accurate looking? No, they do have a little more of an updated, facial or something here or there. They're far more detailed, I suppose, because, let's be honest, the Insecticons wasn't exactly very well detailed, but they look amazing and they fit scale wise. What sucks is when you buy a third party, assuming it should be in scale and it's not. Like I bought a Galvatron and he was the, I forget what it was. It was called Black Messiah. What was his code name? I forget what company put him out now. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the DX Toys version.
Oh, DX9, yeah.
Yeah, he was the Tyrant Black Messiah. That's what he was called.
Yeah.
Now that I remember. So I see him and he looks amazing. And it's a great combination of a updated modern versus with a G1 look. Or scheme, I put it that way. I loved it. And I dropped I want to say $130 on this figure. So I was like thinking, well, I'm getting a good bargain on this. I'm happy. He shows up after months of pre-order, and he's about a 6-inch figure. That's, wow, with a lot of things, I say, okay, that sounds like good. No, not when it comes to Transformers.
Yeah.
You stand him next to Hot Rod or to Prime or Magnus, and he's knee high to a doorknob, and it's like, we got a problem here.
Yeah.
And I was like so disappointed. So I had to buy another one later, which wound up being the X-Trans version, and he's amazing.
Yeah, and I find too that when you start getting into them, and there's so many companies out there, it's hard to tell who's doing what. But do you have? We talked about this. We have multiple versions, and like I said, I like to give them a little personality and break them up. So like all of my mini bots are not X-Trans bots. Some of them are Ocular Max, some of them are DX9, some of them are Toy World. But do you have any one third-party company that you prefer to go to, or that you have a preference for, or any other?
No, because I go all over. I got a Toy World Jazz that looks great. But then, like I said, I probably have more X-Trans than anything as far as third party, because I got a Cup, I got Rodimus, I got Megatron, I got Galvatron, all third party. But more and more, it's I forget the name of the company. It starts with a D. Defo. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. There was a Starscream to come out.
Deformation Space.
There you go. Their Starscream looks great.
Yeah, it does.
And I would put it right up there as probably the best looking one, especially bang for your buck. I have the Masterpiece Takar version, and it was a fluke. I bought it because it came on a good sale, and I thought I was getting that version instead of this. And then it come, and I was like, oh shit, It's the actual one. But, and I do have a Thundercracker coming soon, but.
Yeah. You gonna get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I started out thinking, oh, man, you got to get all fans toys or X Transbots or whatever. But the more I got into them, man, like, and don't get me wrong, those are the two I probably have the most of out of anything is the X Transbots and fans toys. But I started looking at like Dyno bots and this company called Gigapower. Now they're as expensive as fans toys, but their Dyno bots look just as good. And actually, I have 3 Dyno bots from them, excluding Grimlock because I've got him as official Takara because I got him a long time ago. But 3 of the Dinobots I have is the Gigapower, and one of them I could not get in Gigapower. It just wasn't available anywhere, so I bought the Fans Toys version, and I put them on the shelf together. The only way you can tell any difference in them is the Gigapower ones I bought are the chrome version, so their spikes and their scales and stuff are chromed out. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't tell a difference between these and how they're made and how they look against each other. Yeah. And they were.
I know you're a lot more better versed than I am about the third parties. Who was the third party company that put out the Devastator that they was coded out as Hercules? And it's from several years ago, but I forget I'm not sure the company that put that out. It is an amazing, wonderful looking. The detail and accuracy is so great. But I just remember being coded out as Hercules. And I wanted them so bad.
TFC Toys, and I don't even know if they're still around, to be honest with you, because these companies come and go.
They did a great job. Everything I've seen them put out looked really great for quite a while there.
Dude, I'll tell you, I've gotten into a bad spot this week because they started coming out with Defensor, who's one of my favorite combiners. And honestly, for combiners, I would prefer to have Zeta Toys because they do an amazing job of building their combiners. Now, they're not all in one. They have some parts for me, like the Superion I have, the chest piece is a separate piece from any of the bots, and then you start snapping them into it or together on it. But he's amazing looking. You've seen him a few times. I mean, he's just one of the best I've ever seen. Now, their train bots is being done under the name Moon Studios, but it's also Zeta Toys because they either had to sell their designs or change their name or something because they get into trouble all the time overseas for a lot of stuff. So it's coming out as Moon Studios, but it's built the same way, and they're amazing the way that they're transforming and looking like they're going to combine. But I started buying Defensor as an X-Transbot because he came out first. Now, the Ocular Max is also releasing them as an all-in-one where there is no parts for me. Every piece is part of it. If you've seen the first aid for X-Transbots, the medical bed he has is actually going to be most of the arm piece, and then he snaps around it in different ways. And it's a parts for me piece, right?
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Monster. Okay. Some of the companies to begin with for the combiners, they were selling them all as one unit. And, sometimes that'd be $600. Had you rather go that route there and get them all at one time, or are you more of you have the patience to wait out the 2 years or whatever it takes to buy them, individually, and then finally get the combined piece?
So I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was going with this. So I've been buying these X-Transbots when they look great. And then I saw the Ocular Max, their first aid, and the way he transforms and he's much more intuitive, I was like, dang, I want that one now too, but I don't want 2 Defensors, but I'm wanting to buy 2 now to have one as the regular boss and then one as Defensor because they look so good. I can't afford it, so I got to make decisions. But one of the things I've noticed is that the companies who are good at those and can produce them, you'll get them sprinkled throughout. So I've already gotten 2 X-Transbots parts of Defensor. The next one's not until fourth quarter of this year, and it was pushed back from October to December because of shipping issues, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's not because of anything else, but then when you look at, they provide great stability in these boxes. X-Transbots, DX9, Zeta Toys, Moon Studios, it looks like they have great stability. Takara and Fans Toys are just now starting to delve into doing combiners at that masterpiece scale. And they're the ones that scare me because of that timeline. And I'm willing to wait that timeline normally and buy them as they come out. I'd rather have them all at once, but if I got to wait, that's fine. I can do that. I've got a little bit of patience, not a lot, but a little bit. But,
see, that's the problem I run into. Is anyone that knows Hassel knows he has very little patience. It's almost hard for me to wait 2 years to get this thing and combined up. But at the same time, it's damn sure just as hard to justify a mortgage payment to get the combiner all at once.
It's that too, but when I started looking at the timelines for getting some of those, and you look at what makes me nervous and makes me not want to be patient, It's like with Fans Toys and Takara, what they're doing. So they're producing these things at like 1.5 to 2 times the price of everybody else. Like the train bots are 109, and actually they're 114 now if you didn't buy the first release. But Takara is over 200 for each piece of the train. So that's 6 bots. So am I paying 1,200 or am I paying 600? But the weight part you're talking about, when you take somebody like Fans Toys, they did 3 of the aerial bots, and then they just stopped making them for like 2 years. They haven't had one come out since 2019. It's 2022, and they just announced the other 2.
And that is the scariest part of a third party.
Exactly.
Right? They're not a major company. They can close doors tomorrow, and you never get the rest of him.
Well, that, and what makes me impatient about that too is did they not make those others because they realized their combination is not going to be stable? Especially when you get somebody like Fans Toys who puts so much in X-Trans.
But you would almost think they would have the tooling issues worked out before they started releasing any of the parts. It's one thing to not be able to, do but one piece at a time so often. That's fine. But you would think they'd start with at least a stable prototype of the entire thing.
But they don't. That's the thing. These smaller companies like a Fans Toys, I don't know if they can't afford to or if they just don't. They will give you renders and tell you what they're going to make, and then they start producing one at a time. And if it's taking them 2 years to make the next 2 pieces of this combiner is probably not going to be mobile. And if he is standing up there, he might just have to stand like he's waiting on the school bus in that A-frame position because he's going to fall over if I do anything else.
My Devastator is standing like this right now. He's the Hasbro version, so he does not have the, posability that you would think. I mean, your combiners, the third party, and they look amazing. You have them posed up, and they're all like in disco poses and all this shit. But like my Devastator, he don't have that. He's Hasbro.
Yeah.
So Bad Boy's just standing here like this, with his arms cranked up.
And that's how my Titans are that I got from Hasbro. But like my Superior is a combiner. Yes, it has parts forming, and I know people complain about that, but he's so stable that I've actually got him standing with his gun pulled up and one knee bent, and he's reaching towards the ground like he's trying to pick somebody up. And it's like,
hey, you do a great job.
I don't care.
Like, for the most part, some of mine I can pose up certain ways, but I don't have the posability skilling you have. But
if I can make him that dynamic, that's awesome. And that's what the Zeta, the Moon Studios, and I've seen some of the Ocular Max that can do that, and some of them that can't. So I'm not sure how their Defensor is going to come out, but if they did all theirs that sell at one time, I'd probably try and go in for all the product at once. But I can wait on those because they look so great. But I don't think I could do it for Takara or Fans Toys because I'm scared they're not going to hold up. Or Takara will finish making them. They're a big enough company. But I'm scared that theirs is not going to hold up. Plus, it looks like crap because it's got kibble falling all off of it everywhere.
Well, the thing about Takara, they look great in pictures. But when you get them and you start, messing with them, they never transform as well as they look in the picture.
Yeah.
My Starscream, I was so pissed because his wings, they're supposed to snap in a certain position. And like as long as I pose him in that position and set him right there, they'll look like they are, but they're not snapped together at all in the back. They're just kind of dangling. So, I mean, like, yes, from a look position, it looks great. But if you were to pick him up, you would instantly tell. To where some of these third parties, you don't have that. My thing with the combiners is I wish that they would at least commit to, okay, we're going to have this out in, say, a 15-month time frame. Within 15 months, you'll have all of these figures to make your... Okay, I can commit to a long haul over that time frame, year and a half, maybe. When you start entering in the 2-year mark, it's hard.
Well,
at $100 a bot, it's just hard.
Yeah, and I think too, especially because they're going to go up in price every year too, right? So what you pay for 101 is going to be 115 next year on that same size one. But that 2-year time frame just tells me that hey, something's not right with it, and I'm scared it's going to fall apart.
But on a positive note, I did have a meeting with a lady that does imports and exports today, and she did tell me that the ports are freeing up. That she has seen a lot of movement out in California, Savannah, New York, where the ports are freeing up and they're getting things that's been just sitting there for months. They just couldn't get into the port to unload.
Yeah, and not only waiting on the figures to show, like X-Trans bots, I'm just waiting on the figures to show up, but at least they're giving us updates too. Like with their Defensor, I've got 2 pieces in hand. The third one I know doesn't come out until December at this point. It was pushed back, but I've seen all the product images, and I've already seen the product images and the prototype building for the fourth one. So that just leaves the fifth one to be done that they haven't done yet. But Fans Toys went 2 years without even showing you the product images of the renders of the two that were missing from their Superion. That makes me nervous. I was like,
hey, we're going to sell these.
Yeah.
Give me monies.
And I'll say this too: if I had enough money to do it, I would want to buy versions of, here's the combiner combined, and I would go with a different company for the individual pieces if I was going to display them individually. Like, I think the Fans Toys individually for their Superion, their aerial bots look great, and I would display them that way. But for the combiner, they can't touch the Zeta toys.
No, I've seen the quality. It does look really, really amazing. I say, I'm not real big on the trains, but they do look really, really great.
Yeah, and if I was going to do a defense, that's why I started looking at that first aid from the protective box. I was like, oh, I really like that one, but which one would I? And I think I would make the X-Trans box my combined mode, but maybe these would be the individuals. I was like, that's a scary rabbit hole to start going down at this point.
That's why I haven't done it yet, because there's a huge part of me that wants so bad to buy a Predaking and a Devastator third party. But oh my gosh.
And that's the thing too, though. I mean, some of the characters that have been done in third parties are not. The wish list is really still big out there. I mean, for me, for what I want, I'm at the point where Computron, a few of the headmasters that haven't been made, and then Broadside, who was the last triple changer, has not been made. Other than that, it's just finishing off the sets I'm doing. But like for you, for wanting like a Predaking and stuff, there's not a good Predaking out there. There's a few different ones. But all the reviewers I've watched, none of them are happy with how they've come out. And
they're cosmetically appealing, very expensive, and zero posability.
Yeah, and I want a combination of cosmetically appealing and posability if I'm going for it, to be honest with you.
And Predaking and Devastator, they're both ones that, like I said, I can guarantee within 15 months I'd have the entire thing. Okay, I would go in for... because they're typically $100 a figure, a little better sometimes.
Yeah, unless you're buying Fans Toys.
Yeah, so I would do that, but because I mean, let's be honest, if you buy a 3-0 or a Mezco or something like that,
you're dropping
a Mayfix, you're kind of dropping those anyways, and you've got a 6-inch figure there.
Yeah, and that's the difference for me for Transformers, right? At least if I'm going to drop $100, there's engineering, and he's going to change shapes. If I drop $100 on 3-0, the best I can do is treat him like a Barbie doll and take all his clothes off.
Well, you have some weight to him too. Like, I was really impressed with Cup when I got him. Like, he was one of the ones that I've recently bought. That I picked him and was like, wow. I think the only one before him that I was like super impressed with was Ironhide. The Ironhide I got in, he is 100% G1 accurate, beautiful figure, and he had some heft to him.
Yeah. Well, they're made to last. I mean, and there's engineering inside them, so they have to make them with... They're a combination of not just plastic. They're plastic and die cast for the most part. I've seen a few that are just plastic, and like the Hound I have from Takara is all plastic, but he is beautiful. I mean, he's perfectly done. He looks extremely accurate to G1. The only thing that I can say that stands out to me that's not G1 is the fact that his steering wheel when he transforms kind of hangs off of his backpack because there's nowhere else for it to go. But you don't notice it in robot form unless you turn him around and look for it.
Well, when I was opening, or transforming Ironhide to, get him to a position I wanted him, I'm just like, I'm looking at him and I'm a little kid all over again, and I'm hearing old Southern Ironhide, but Brad! I mean, it's like, it just hit it for me. The nostalgia factors there. And that's some of what I want to capture when I collect. I want that nostalgia of being a 5-year-old again and, watching it on what was a big screen, 32-inch at the time, and sitting in the living room floor, with an old box TV and just being captivated.
Yeah, and that's the same for me, and that's why I started with, like I said, I just want the season 1, 2, and 3 ones because that's what I watched. Now, I saw the season 4 of the Headmasters beginning, but that was it. Those 3 episodes. So I had no connection to them, but it branched out from there because once you get them and start messing with them, like you said, there's heft to them and there's stuff. It's like, man, I need these. That's like they made the Omnibots, which were never on the show. They were only toy-specific ones to sell a couple extra toys that they had molds of. And now they've made the X-Transbots is making them this year, and I've already pre-ordered all them. I'm like, I don't even know their damn names without looking them up, but I can't resist them at this point because they are
So
G1
that's where you
technically.
have me is like there's a handful. Like I don't know all of them from G1. They're just the ones that certain ones. But to tell you how terrible I am, I'm almost embarrassed of saying this, but I literally thought I was buying Prowl one day, and you probably already know who I got instead.
I would imagine Smokescreen or Blue Streak.
Blue Streak.
Yeah, because they were all built off
Like,
the same body.
yes, and like, cause I was like on eBay one day, and I was like busy at work, but I was like kind of watching this thing, and it was going at a good fair price, and I was like, holy shit, that Prowl's cheap as fuck. So I snapped him up. He comes in, I'm excited. I unravel him and say, hey, this ain't Prowl. And yeah, it was so it was Blue Streak, and I was like, but I mean, it's a great looking figure. However, it's not like you remember him from the show. And there's only a handful from the show that I just really still need that I want.
Yeah.
Like I need a Wheeljack. He's one of the ones that from the series, him, a Ratchet, and I still need to get a Bumblebee. And there's just, for the cons, for the most part, I've got pretty, other than the combiners I'd like to change out. I mean, I've got the cons, the core cons, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to get a Blitzwing Steel and an Astro Train. They're probably the two that I need to round out my cons.
Yeah, and you have to be careful. There's so many of those that are different. That the different companies have made them. And I guess that leads me to one of the other questions I had. If you're looking at these and you've got dueling companies making them, what's going to be your deciding factor in choosing which one you're going to pick? You going to look? You going to price or the quality the quality of the brand name? Let me put it that way. Like
what sucks
like
is when
or
you see one. Yeah, what sucks is when you see one that's got like the best mold. He looks amazing, but the coloring is different. Because like with Astro Train, I've seen him in various different colors. You see some that go with the cartoon accurate color. Some go with the figure accurate color. Some have went with the Marvel Comics color. So you got like 3 different versions color wise of him out there. And one of them has a better mold than any of them, but he's not the accurate color. So it's like, damn, I want him to look cartoon colored while I scheme. I don't want him in old school Hasbro colors.
The one to me that looks, let's just use Astro Train for example. The one to me that looks the best is Fans Toys version of him. He looks so cartoon accurate. Man, his price is like $250.
Yeah, I was trying to talk my bride to be into that one not long ago. I said, she said, "Oh, I like that." I said, "Yeah, me too, baby." I said, then she seen the price. She said, "No, we don't like that." I said,
because DX9 made a much cheaper version, and he looks okay, but he doesn't match the colors. And then actually everybody complains about the way he transforms too. But
if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that has the white body, correct? White and purple.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he looks okay, but he's just not dead on. So at that point, are you going to say, okay, if you had those two to pick between, which one would you pick, and why?
I got to go with it. It's got to be. I don't price wise aside. I want the mold and the color scheme from the cartoon.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I look at the accuracy first because there's been some there's another and I can't remember the name of the company that makes it. They dabble more in the closer to the Legend scale than they do the Masterpiece scale, but they've already made a Defense Source. Generation Toys, actually, I think. But the aesthetic that they gave them looks like it doesn't look cartoon accurate. It looks like a more modern take on what it could possibly be from a vehicle now versus what it looked like from then. And I'm like, much as I wanted a Defensor for myself before they started selling the X-Transbots or the Ocular Max this last year, and I was like, man, I want a Defensor, and he was my favorite combiner, and I got looking. I was like, I just don't like that one. It doesn't look right, and it's a cheaper price too. I could probably got the whole set for $300 versus $100 a piece, but it's just not right.
No.
And I've gotten to the point too, especially like I was talking about the Perceptor. When I look at them and they're that close between Fans Toys and X-Transbots, at that point, I'm not going by the brand name or the quality, or the quality by the brand name. I'm not going for fans toys just because everybody says they're better, because it's not worth another $100 for me to buy them.
I will say that second Perceptor you bought was beautiful.
Yeah, and I will say that I try to make sure I buy from reputable companies when they make them. Like, newer ones are harder for me to get into, so I watch some reviews. But like that Perceptor, there's two, the X-Transbots or the fans toys. I bought the X-Transbots, and I know their name, and I don't have too many troubles. But I will say that both shoulders on that one, the first version of them I got when I got them in, both shoulders broke immediately. So I'm waiting on replacement parts to fix them. I went and bought the second one just to go ahead and get them on my shelf because I was disappointed at that point in time. And the second one's fine. Transforms perfectly fine. No breakage. Just got one bad quality one, but that turns a lot of people off, and they won't buy that brand anymore just because it broke.
When you drop 100 plus to anywhere from 100 to 140, say, you don't want it tearing up.
No.
And that's where I was so scared with that Masterpiece Starscream, because like the way he has to transform, you have to do some kind of tucking and moving and pulling, and it's like scary as hell because you're like scared that you're gonna pull a damn leg slap off. And like one of the first things I did was pull his head off, and I was like, oh shit. But luckily the heads always snap on pretty easy back. But an arm or a leg, that's a little something different, especially if it snaps at a joint.
Well, I mean, and this is no secret to most fans and stuff that we send stuff back and forth. But when I upgraded my Trailbreaker and bought a new one because I liked the sculpt better, the one I had, and when I got it, it broke immediately. But now it broke in a way that I could still transform it and I could still pose it, and you couldn't notice it. If it does that doesn't turn me off. Now, if it breaks like that Perceptor did and I can't even transform it, I'm a little disappointed. I can't deal with that. But it didn't turn me off enough to say I wouldn't buy it anymore because I was a one-off. But like I think it's a bad cube that I sent you of Trailbreaker, but when he broke, he was still usable. So I was like, oh well. It sucks because of what I paid for it, but I got him for $70 versus over 100, and I was like, that's a weird spot for that pin, and that pin broke, but he'll still stand, and you won't notice it's broken if you get it posed right.
He resides happily next to my Ultra Magnus in my case right now, actually. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's still used by some of my Gigapower Dyno bots, and they're expensive. They're over $200 a piece, but there's one of them that transforms perfectly fine. But the thin pin that holds this sludge that holds his underbelly in place, every time you go to transform him, that pin actually broke, and you can't really get it out to replace it. So that piece falls off when you transform, but in both positions, it holds in place perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about it not being there on either one or just falling off randomly. It only falls off when you start transforming because the pin's long enough to still slide it back in. It just slides out when you're maneuvering them around.
So that doesn't deter you at all when this sort of thing happens?
Not unless it breaks irrevocably, right? If I can't repair it at all and it's just not usable, then yes. But like with that sludge, like I said, the pin is just this long, so it slides in and holds in place. But as soon as if you turn him sideways to transform, it's going to slide out. And you have to, maneuver them to do that.
Speaking of the Dinobots, how painful is it to know that the best looking version of Swoop is way out of scale with the others? Because the best looking one I've seen by far, he is almost damn near the same size as Grimlock. And it's like, are you shitting me?
I can get the camera on him. He's right behind me.
I think you have him, actually. Because he is like big when he's transforming. It's like, he is not supposed to be that big.
He is standing on a shelf
over here.
Can you see him? I can.
Yeah, I can see him, vaguely there.
He is standing on a shelf with Snarl, and he is just as tall and just as big as Snarl is.
Exactly.
Right here.
That's my point in case. He's a small figure, and while he's a Dinobot, but the figure looks amazing, and he's the best looking one of all of them I've seen.
And here's
version wise of him.
And to prove this point, if you can see them, I know it might be hard, but he's got a bigger. He's this side because I'm having to do this from the opposite direction because of the camera, but he's got a bigger wingspan, so he's wider, and he's also taller because of his headpiece. Now he shouldn't be as tall as he is anyway, but he is a Gigapower, and the Snarl standing next to him over here is the Fans Toys Dinobot that I have, and you can't tell that they're from two different companies standing next to each other.
No, it wasn't for the scale. That's by far the best looking version of Swoop I've seen.
Yeah, and I have the others on the shelves below them from those same ones, and that scale is obviously wrong, right? But other than that scale, you can't tell the difference in that whole Dinobots team coming from different manufacturers.
No, they look amazing. They're really great looking figures.
Yeah, and I gotta admit it. And so the sludge, like I said, the little underbelly piece falls out when you try to move him, and on the and Swoop, where his talons are at, one of the talons on his knees looks out of place because it's like the paint chipped on it a little bit. But I mean, like, I can't argue with it. I mean, it looks amazing no matter what. So it's the little stuff like that bothers a lot of collectors does not bother me as long as it's still functionable. Like the Perceptor I had, that the shoulders fell apart. Ain't nothing I can do with him until I get replacements. So that kind of sucks. But yeah. But anyway, just because we're running a little tight on time, was there any? I don't know that I had any other questions in particular we were going to delve into, unless you had something in particular. I think we were about ready to move into our Nerd Out segment, unless you had something else you wanted to share on those.
No, I think we pretty well hit all the high spots, at least with, the collecting wise of it. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have to come back at some point and actually have a show on the show, movies, Impact, comics, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
But
the
fictional side of it.
And to be fair, we started out at that point, and then we've had to push this back a couple different times. So it got to the point where, okay, it's just going to be the collectibles, and we're going to go from there. And I'm still.
And we apologize, everybody. The last few weeks we have shit the bed. We were DS award winners.
Yeah.
Because of our internet. So like it started, with our interview with Mr. David Howard Thornton, and it's just kind of been a streaming thing left and right. I mean, my company claims, due to third-party issues, it's solved now. I'm not sure about Spectrum, so this was our first test episode, and we seem to be, without minor difficulties, pretty good now. So hopefully next week when Mr. Dan Garcia comes on for Cyber Ronin, we'll be up to snuff.
Yeah, hopefully so. But you with that, let's move into our Nerd Out segment. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is where we ask random questions about the topics we've been focused on. And we both give our off-the-cuff answers, and sometimes they make sense. Sometimes it's just our own opinion. But feel free, if you agree or disagree with anything we say, feel free to share it in the comment section. Or if you just want to answer the question to your liking, jump down there and give us the comments as well. Hassel, I don't remember which one of us went first last time, because we usually swap back and forth.
I do not either, so I'm going to let you go first.
That'll work. So I guess my nerd out question for this week is, we've both been talking about having these Transformers in our collection and what we want. Is there anyone out there that you would say that, hey, I would swap this one out for a better version, or have more than one copy of this character because it's that character? Is there any of them out there that you would say that you'd spend the extra money on, or no? And I think about that because, like I said about the defense, so I'm like, man, I really want to spend the extra money to have extra pieces of them in both modes. But
probably two, if I were to be honest. Galvatron, because I have bought two Galvatrons. And if I were to go and spend the extra money to have a second version, it would be Devastator. I've done it with Starscream as well, so I mean, I contradict myself already, but
yeah, and I've swapped some out in the past. Like I said, I bought a new Trailbreaker we mentioned a few minutes ago, and I sent you my old one, and I was like, okay, because that's the one I want. That one looks as good as the one I had looked. This one looked more tuned accurate, and because of where I have him standing, I was like, he's a little too bulky next to Ironhide. They should be about the same size, and he was a lot thicker. I was like, But I've swapped some out, but I do have if they were more affordable, I might have second versions of them. The only one I have a second version of right now is Optimus Prime, just because I had the MP10 and I went to as good as it was for its time, it's dated now and it doesn't look as cartoon accurate as like the MP44 or the Transform Element or the Magic Square one. And I was like, I want one of those. And the Transform Element one came up for less than $100 for it. I was like, sold. And my MP10, I can't get rid of him because I need his trailer to go with my Transform Element one. So MP10 ended up on a different shelf in a different room, just kind of with other 80s properties around it. So I was like, I had a spot for him.
For my nerd out question, I'm gonna go with something. Say you could only have 5 bots, and they can be ones you own or don't own, but you can only have 5. Which 5 are they?
You want the toy name or you want just the character?
Just the character's fine. I mean, well, we're just gonna assume it's the best version of that one.
Oh man, I got to go with Optimus first because it's Optimus. Ultra Magnus was my favorite right after him. I would have to say, as much flack as I'm gonna get for this, I'm gonna go with Rodimus or Hot Rod, whichever version of him I could get, but one of those. And then I would go Jazz and Prowl because they were my other 2 favorites from the original season.
All bots. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's all I collect, though. To be honest, I mean, I don't think I have any Decepticons. To be honest with you.
You are doing yourself
Looking at them, I don't.
A great disservice.
You know me, I've always been the collector of heroes. I don't have that many. Other than my Power Ranger collection, I don't think I have any villains around here anywhere, to be perfect. Or my superpowers, I have some of those as villains, but I don't have any villains other than those.
Well, honestly, you know me, I'm more of a villain guy, but mine are pretty well evenly out. But I'm going to have to say Optimus, Megatron, Starscream without fail. Then to round out it does get a kind of little, I'm going Grimlock and Soundwave.
Good choices.
As a bonus question, out of your entire collection, which one are you probably most impressed with?
Until I get the train combiner and see how he turns out, I've got to say that Zeta Toys Superion combiner, because I have never seen a combiner that functions as well as he does. I mean, there's some others that I think are prettier pieces, like the Dinobots are more aesthetically pleasing to just sit there and look at, but that Superion is just for 5 bots going into one, and I know it's parts forming, and people are going to give me flack for that because people hate parts forming, but he is so stable and so posable to be made out of 5 different characters that it's just impressive.
Okay, I got you.
What about you?
I'm gonna go with Soundwave. The Takara Masterpiece version is so spot on accurate with the show. The cassettes are wonderful because he came with Laserbeak, Ravage, Rumble, Frenzy. So it's the cassettes you wanted. Yeah. They all look great. They come in and out. They look great. They look great next to him. Laserbeak can sit on his shoulder, which I've got him sitting on Megatron's shoulder in my collection. But they all are beautiful. I mean, he's just a very impressive figure, and he poses very well. He's one of the few I can pose in about any frame I want.
Yeah,
and to me, he was. While Starscream was the lieutenant, I mean, he was probably the most, really second in command to the Decepticons, honestly, just because he was actually loyal.
Yeah. He was, to me, he was the more important character. Starscream was the scheming second lieutenant, but to me, it was always Soundwave was the true, I guess, successor to Megatron if it hadn't been Galvatron coming, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to figure, as little as he said, there had to be a whole lot more going on behind them eyes, and he had to be scheming all the time.
There was a lot going on between them receptors right there, G.
Well, with that, I think that winds us up for today. But before we leave out, remember everybody, check out our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles, for all your nerdy needs. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com, on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles, or in person in their store in Tifton, Georgia. Help them support their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And before we leave off of them, they have been so gracious and kind the last few weeks as to give us a lot of giveaways products. So we do have another giveaway this week. Hassel, why don't you share with us who's the winner and what it is?
We have Mr. Terry M. Moore. He is super awesome, hitting us up on Instagram. We appreciate all you guys. Y'all hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Just please continue to hit the like, subscribe, the bell, all that good jazz. But Mr. Terry Moore, you are the winner this week. And this week we have, seeing as we did Transformers, we have a Bumblebee $1 million bill, a Hellboy $1 million bill, all courtesy of our sponsor at the Zone Collectibles. But just for shits and giggles, we're going to throw in our new logo sticker. We're going to send it out to you as well. So you can graffiti the hell out of something in your home or somewhere else in public.
Awesome. And remember, everybody, stay tuned because we'll continue doing giveaways probably as much as we can on a weekly basis. If we have any that aren't going to be a weekly one, we'll let you know. But all you got to do to enter is like, subscribe, share, or comment on any of our social media, whether it's here on YouTube or on Twitter, Instagram. Speaking of, before we head out, Hassel, why don't you tell them where they can find us at on?
You can find us on Facebook, Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on Twitter, Nerdy MR Show. And we're all of them. And of course, Nerdy Manroom Show on YouTube. We are there. And this weekend, I will be at Days of the Dead in Atlanta. If you're in the Atlanta area, come your ass out, have a drink with me, shoot the breeze. You might get a sticker or a card.
And remember, if you enjoyed this video or any of our other content, give us a like, subscribe, comment, or share. That also enters you into the drawing, as we said. And join us here next week as we have a very special interview with Mr. Daniel Garcia planned. Until then, live nerdy and roll out.